I would like to welcome you all. Thank you, everyone, so very much for pivoting and coming virtually to join us. We truly appreciate it. Thank you, all the candidates, and thank you, all the guests and all the interviewers as well. I wanted to also specifically thank the All Things Voting team co-chairs, Tommy Campbell and Ebony Compellion. A lot of the work you guys have seen us do as far as candidates forums and events has really been driven by these two. And we're incredibly lucky to have them on our team. And so I just wanted to formally thank them. Without further ado, because I know time is precious, I'm going to turn it over to Tommy, who's going to go over the format, and then we'll get to having conversations with you all. Thank you again. Oh, and just in case someone didn't know who I was, since my name doesn't display, it displays as the Fayette Democratic Women account. I am Nora Poland, current president of Fayette Democratic Women.
Thank you, Nora. So I'm Tommy Campbell, one of the co-chairs of All Things Voting. And just so you know, in this conversation, we're going to have the candidate group by their race that they're running for. And we're going to make sure that everybody gets the same amount of time to speak and to answer questions and talk to us. So we're going to have Lieutenant Governor, Commissioner of Assurance, Labor Commission, State Senate District 16, then State House District 68, and then County Commission District 3. And I was going to have a bell, bing, and I have it right here, but this smart computer is so smart that it tunes out my bell. So unfortunately, when time is up, it's just going to be me saying time's up. And I hope that doesn't upset you too much, that you don't get a pretty bell, but there it is. We're going to let everyone introduce themselves, 2 minutes, and then we'll have a short 5 minutes of questions and answers. And we're asking that you that are participating, if you have questions, if you would please put them in the chat, and we'll have someone monitor the chat to ask questions from there too. And then at the end, we'll have everyone do a 1 minute closing statement. So that is the format that we're going to be following. And thank you guys for taking the time out to come. I know this was like completely different than what we intended originally, but this is going to be awesome too. So thank you for coming. And we're going to start with, sorry. I'm sorry, I don't know who's going to be interviewing first. Is it Dawn or Shannon?
So we're going to start with the Lieutenant Governor runoff race, and we have Shannon Moultrie, who will be the interviewer for this section.
Perfect.
Welcome, Shannon.
Thank you so much, and good evening. Thank you all for having me here. As they stated, I am Councilwoman Shannon Moultrie here in the city of Fayetteville. It is an honor to be here to assist and to have a conversation with the candidates for Lieutenant Governor. In no specific priority order, I have two candidates here that I'm going to ask to introduce themselves, again, in keeping with the format that was just introduced with the 2-minute opening remarks. The candidates that I will be having a conversation with this evening is Josh McLaurin and Nabilah Parks. We will go ahead and start with Josh. Josh, good evening.
Good evening, Councilwoman, and good evening, Fayette Democratic Women. It's an honor to be back with you. I was with you briefly before the election in person, but here we are in the runoff. Record turnout, over 1 million voters. I don't have to stress, I know we've already had this conversation, how incredible the energy is, and I was really honored to come in first place on Tuesday with 41% of the vote. We won 115 counties out of 159 and are going to be making our case in all 159 for the next couple of weeks. My name is Josh McLaurin. I'm a state senator. I've been in the state legislature for 8 years. I was in the House for 4 years and then in the Senate for 4 years. And I have built a reputation of being a fighter, being principled, speaking truth to power, bringing the fight directly to Republicans, confronting them. I use the phrase narcissist daddy to refer to Trump on the floor when they were doing election denier stuff. And, I'm not afraid to make the case as honestly as it needs to be made. But I've also been effective. I got $1 million in the budget for veterans with post-traumatic stress. I got the first ever statewide regulations on the predatory car booting industry, which I'm really proud of. So there's a balance that you need when you're in this space, particularly when there's a Republican majority. You have to know how to bring the fight, but you also need to know how to work across the aisle. And I think that's what many voters of all different backgrounds are really desperate for. Based on that approach, I have earned the respect and the trust of my colleagues. I'm honored that 60 of my colleagues, that's dozens of state legislators, both in the House and the Senate combined, have endorsed my campaign. I was honored on Tuesday, Stacey Abrams endorsed my campaign, which the work she's done to transform Georgia politics, goes without saying that she's got a real perspective for what we need right now for democracy to flourish. And I have the support of many organizations, including the Georgia AFL-CIO, Organized Labor, Young Democrats of Georgia, Georgia Association of Black Women Attorneys, Georgia Equality, a couple of the indivisible chapters, North Georgia and Savannah, and other organizations that have jumped in. Like I said, we've been trying to build a statewide coalition for over a year. I've gone to all parts of the state, put 20-something thousand miles on the car, and I'm proud to be in the runoff, and I hope to earn your support tonight.
Time.
Gosh, thank you so much. It appears that you are in perfect timing. Thank you so much for that. Good evening, Miss Nabilah Parks. How are you this evening? Is Miss Parks in attendance?
She may not be on. We're checking right now. So if you want to just continue with Josh with the questions, and then once we finish with Josh, we can, if she joins by then, we'll switch.
Absolutely. Josh, again, you and I are going to have a conversation with just absolutely everybody else in the room. So thank you again for showing up and having this chat with me. Let's start with, if you don't mind, can you name a specific instance where you worked across the aisle, and what was that result?
Sure. I can elaborate a little bit on a couple of the instances I just mentioned in the intro. So, I actually witnessed, people ask me if my car got booted, and I'm like, I'm not one of those legislators that's just passing a bill because something happened to me. It did happen to some people I knew, and I was at an event one night when some booters came through and booted like 15 or 20 cars, and they hadn't done anything wrong, right? I mean, one of the things, if you ever gotten your car booted, is they'll hold you hostage and make you pay 75 bucks whether you really violated the rules or not. So it's very predatory. So I went to the state senate. I was, a senator at the time, and I filed a bill to ban booting altogether. And I was amazed by the outpouring of media attention and Republicans who had had similar experiences, and they were willing to work with me to get it done. So some House Republicans actually said, "Hey, if you can get us a bill over here." That you put the booting amendment on in the Senate. So in the Senate, you can add amendments on the floor. In the House, you can't really do that. So I had the ability to put that booting amendment on a bill that came from the House. So then House Republicans could work it on their end and get it across. But I don't even have time to tell y'all all the crazy twists and turns in that story. Brian Kemp was threatening to veto that legislation. I had to work with the Senate Republican Appropriations Chair to sneak something in the budget so that Kemp couldn't veto it. I mean, it got crazy. But I go back to what I was saying a minute ago, which is, how do you balance telling the truth to these guys to their face with them still wanting to work with you? And that what that means is when you come to them with a criticism, you have to come from a place of conviction and a posture of affirming community. Because if you just come at them and say, I want to burn it down and I hate you and you suck, they're never going to work with you. And so that's the real character work I think that goes into public service is you have to hold that tension. You have to say, I'm here to work with you, but I'm also going to be honest with you when things go wrong. And so based on that, you'd be surprised. I think a lot of Democrats are afraid sometimes to say exactly what we think because we're worried about the backlash. I have found that conservative voters love it when you're honest. Even if they disagree with you, if you stand up and you have a spine and you say, look, I'm going to stand on business, this is exactly what I think, you earn respect. That's definitely been true of my colleagues in the state Senate. And so that's one reason why if I'm in the lieutenant governor role and there's still a Senate majority that's Republican, I actually have a lot of confidence that I will be able to get some things done because I have found ways of working and maneuvering through their defense to get the ball across the finish line.
Absolutely. Nora, are we good to continue or has the other candidate arrived?
You can continue. You got about 2 more minutes.
Awesome. You're on mute.
Sorry, my bad. We're just going to do one candidate at a time rather than jumping in between just to keep it easy to manage.
Wonderful, wonderful. Josh, thank you for sharing that information. I believe some will find that very helpful. let's jump over to another thing here. What policies would you support to attract and retain businesses in Georgia without sacrificing worker protections?
That's a great question. And this is sort of the abundance mindset I was using a minute ago talking about bipartisan work. You can do both if you do it right. In fact, worker protections are pro-business policy. I've known since I interned for the Carl Vinson Institute at University of Georgia many years ago that attracting businesses, part of that, it's not just tax cuts, it's not just throwing incentives, and we already do too much of that. What it's really about is investing in people so that when businesses locate here, they know that they've got a reliable, well-trained workforce. They know that the workforce that they employ has health care. So they're not going to miss unpredictable days of work because of health crises or emergencies. That sort of basic safety net and stability is actually essential to attracting the kind of business that we want. And so the major cost drivers affecting workforce are housing and healthcare. We've got specific ideas, not just me, but a bunch of Democrats about, who I've heard on the campaign trail about how we want to expand Medicaid, replace the lost premium subsidies from the federal government that expired in December. We could do that for $700 million a year by taxing insurance company profits and making our cigarette revenue, cigarette excise tax, the national average. We could raise that money and close the gap up to 400% of the poverty line. On housing, we have got great ideas. We've got a housing trust fund that's underfunded, that could help subsidize developers whose margins make it tricky to do affordable housing. But we can also do some zoning reform. We have all of these rules and regulations about how big lot sizes and square footage have to be. But if you're graduating college making $80,000, $90,000 a year, it's just not practical to spend 400,000, 450,000 on your first home. So we need to relax the standards in some areas to allow for the creation of new supply and starter homes. And we need to do something about corporate ownership of housing. That's actually a really bipartisan issue where you've got all these hedge funds and corporations. And in Georgia, it's really a bad problem, more so than the rest of the country, just snatching up all this single family home stock so that we're becoming this generation of renters. And there's nothing wrong with renting, but we want people to have options.
We heard the end of that. Thank you so much. We have a stickler, timekeeper here, so we're going to respect her. You said something about healthcare. I think that's a good segue into, Georgia's Pathways to Coverage program has enrolled far fewer people than projected. Would you expand or replace it?
We have to replace pathways. The way we do that is we expand Medicaid, excuse me, under the Affordable Care Act. We've had that option sitting on the table for about 15 years. And if we were to do that, we would get a 90% match from the federal government. John Ossoff and the Raphael Warnock, in their capacity as U.S. senators, secured 1.6, I think, billion dollars worth of bonuses that we'll draw down over 2 years if we expand Medicaid. And it would ensure hundreds of thousands of people, probably 500,000 or more, overnight. We saw this in North Carolina. You press the button and they have insurance the next day. Pathways requires a lot more work, like you said, laborious. People don't know about it. There wasn't the education necessary. And there was some public reporting done that we spent twice as much on administrative costs and overhead as we actually did on the coverage through that program. So while Deloitte consultants were getting rich, individual people were not getting covered. I think only a few thousand people ended up getting coverage through that program. So it's night and day. I mean, you can't even compare what Pathways has done to what expanding Medicaid would do. And I think part of the problem is the Republican majority has this anti-government ideology where they think any government's bad, any government program is bad, and that Medicaid could be improved. Look, nothing's perfect. But I'd much rather have 500,000 people have insurance than only a few thousand, even if there's some kinks or bugs to work out in the system. And I think we can't ignore that, President Obama, there was a huge racial backlash to President Obama's presidency, and they just decided they didn't want to adopt his signature healthcare policy because he was black. I mean, that's a hard medicine for Republicans to hear, but they got to confront the truth of it, especially now that Trump is making so much other racism plain. We got to be honest about what's happening in this country and take real steps to fix it.
Time. We're gonna have to move to the next candidate, Shannon. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We're gonna let Josh do his minute just to finish up his presentation, your closing statement.
Sure, I will be quick, and then I actually have to run to a friend's wedding tonight, so I appreciate y'all letting me go first. But what I will say is I want to be your storyteller. I want to be your messenger. I think the lieutenant governor, in addition to managing traffic in the state senate, can be a very powerful ally to Governor Keisha Lance Bottoms, who I'm going to work my butt off for. She will set the policy agenda, and she'll need supporters and surrogates and messengers to go to the camera, 11 Alive News, WSB, Fox 5, and explain all this stuff so that the public can come along with us and we build the political support we need. And I would ask you really to think about the endorsements picture. You know, not everybody gets to go to the state capitol, so you got to trust the people who work there every day on who they want to work with and who they trust to do this job. And so to have 60 of my colleagues, 17 senators, over 40 state representatives who say I'm the guy, my opponent does not have any state legislative endorsements, I would ask that you trust their perspective on who would be the best team player and the most collaborative person and personality to do this job. Like I said, I've been trying to build their trust for over a year, over 8 years in the legislature. And so I'm just really honored to be a consensus candidate for this role. And I'd ask humbly for your vote for Lieutenant Governor.
Josh, thank you so much.
Perfect.
Thank you.
I think Miss Parks is on. Thank you so much, Josh.
Okay. Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
Have a good wedding.
Ms. Parks, are you with us?
Yes. Can you hear and see me?
I can hear you.
You can't see me though?
Oh, I see you.
Okay.
We can see you now.
Wonderful. There we are. Good evening.
Good evening, ladies. How are you?
Doing well. Not sure if you were able to hear the introduction. My name is Shannon Moultrie. I'm the councilwoman here in the city of Fayetteville. Thank you for joining us this evening. As I stated to Josh, you and I are going to have a conversation with everyone else's ears available to it. I'll ask a few questions. I'm not sure if you were able to hear the process. I'm going to give you a brief moment to introduce yourself. You'll have 2 minutes, and that will be flagged for time once that time expires, after which I will go through a series of questions. I will ask you those questions, give you an opportunity to answer, and then in closing, you'll have 1 minute for your final statement. In this moment, we'll go ahead and give you the floor for your 2-minute opening remarks.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak with you all today. I'm Nabilah Parks. I was a 2-time state senator. I represented Gwinnett County. I flipped the swing district blue back in 2022. I'm also the mother of 3, a 20-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a rambunctious 22-month-old. I'm also the daughter of immigrants from Bangladesh. You know, my parents came to this country seeking the American dream. They worked working class jobs. My dad was a file clerk. My mom worked as a order puller at a warehouse to give me and my little brother a life that they never had. I attended Gwinnett County Public Schools. Grew up on free and reduced lunches, and with the help of hard work and with the help of the Hope Scholarship, I graduated from Georgia State University with a marketing degree and became the first college graduate in my family. So, my lived experiences have informed my work, and now I'm stepping up to run for lieutenant governor to lower the cost of living in the state of Georgia, to also expand Medicaid so that, so many working class families across the state can have health care, to protect our fundamental freedoms like our voting rights, our reproductive rights, and also to take on MAGA Republicans and hold them accountable for the harms that they have caused their communities. In the Senate, I've, held Republicans accountable, whether it was suing Brian Kemp back in 2024 when he would not investigate the state election board, or whether it was when I, demanded that we use surplus money to pay for SNAP recipients during the government shutdown, or when I, reached out to the Attorney General to get clarity on our abortion law when Adriana Smith was hooked up to machines and forced to gestate a fetus without her family's input. Even though we were in the minority, I have always used every tool that I've had to hold Republicans accountable, to help Georgians as much as I can. And as next lieutenant governor, that will be my job.
Thank you so much. We'll just go ahead and continue the conversation. I'd like to start by asking, the lieutenant governor controls Senate committee assignments. How would you use that power differently than your predecessor?
Okay, well, I think what's going to happen is what they did to Mark Taylor, is that the Republicans are going to come in, they're going to come in with the rules package, and they're going to, strip away the lieutenant governor's ability to actually put people on committees, but that doesn't mean I won't have influence. So I'll use all the influence that I have as lieutenant governor, because we control the calendar, to make sure we have people on committees that know how the committee functions, that have a background, whether it's education, whether it's healthcare. In addition to that, we have committee on assignments. So basically, it's a closed door committee meeting where the public does not have any input. I will demand that that meeting is public so that we can hold Republicans accountable when they put MAGA Republicans, that don't believe in science, that don't believe in healthcare on certain committees. I think that is going to be a very important role for the lieutenant governor to shape the conversation and use that bully pulpit to make sure that we have strong people on these committees that understand what they're doing.
Thank you. How should Georgia prepare for future workforce needs, which will likely look vastly different than today, and which existing programs are not working?
So I would say, for example, our education system, we don't have enough teachers to teach our students. They're not being paid they're being paid below the national average, and retention is a problem. So I've talked about how we need to pay teachers more, make sure it's at least at the national average, and making sure that the legislation that we bring into the state Senate focuses on letting teachers teach instead of all the divisive culture wars that we have. I also believe that we need to strengthen our apprenticeship programs. This is one of the best things that Georgia does, is that we literally pay people to learn and train in different sectors of the Georgia economy, and how to be, go work at the Savannah port or go work at a different company with certain skill sets. Not everyone needs a 4-year degree to get a good job. And I want to make sure that we continue to invest in that apprenticeship program that we have, and work with our unions to make sure that we focus on skilled trade in the state.
Very nice. Thank you so much. Well, you touched quite a bit on education. So I will go ahead and forward the conversation to the topic of environment. How would you balance economic development with protecting Georgia's natural resources?
So I'm going to touch data centers, right? So this has been a huge contentious issue, especially in the state of Georgia. Data centers are, quote unquote, part of economic development, but, they are costing Georgians hand and foot when it comes to electricity. It's costing Georgians when it comes to our climate, our environments. And it's costing, look at the water in certain areas where they're building these data centers. They should not be getting corporate subsidies. I believe that when it comes to data centers, that we need to have a moratorium and not build a single one until we pass regulation. This past session, we weren't able to pass regulation. And honestly, they get billions in dollars in subsidies. I introduced legislation to rip those subsidies away, but I couldn't get that legislation to the floor. So I think it's very important that, we balance economic development, and it's not at the cost of our livelihoods, our environments, our climates, and making sure that, when we are building up businesses in the state of Georgia, it's not getting us sick.
Thank you. Can you name a specific instance where you worked across the aisle, and what was the result?
I will say working across the aisle. Well, my first bill that I worked across the aisle to have it passed. It was, I'm on the Veterans Committee, and I introduced legislation to protect National Guard members. And I worked across the aisle to get that legislation passed. It was the first piece of legislation that I passed. Now, I will say that when it comes to bad bills, I have tried to work with my colleagues behind bad bills, whether it's like our immigration bills that have come out that have been passed, to water them down before they hit the floor. I would say to some degree we were a little successful on that. But overall, when I'm in the Senate, I view my job as, what can we do to support harm reduction? And I think that's really important. And also to how can we stop bad legislation? As the next lieutenant governor, what I really want to do is make sure that I'll have the ability to raise funds to go after MAGA Republicans and flip their districts blue, so that we can have the mandate, a 29 majority to pass legislation and to also make sure that bad legislation does not get passed in the state Senate.
Thank you.
We've got about 40 seconds left.
Thank you so much. Real quickly, how will you ensure rural communities are not overlooked in state policy making?
I think it's important to have people at the table that represent these communities, because I always say this: when you're not at the table, you're at the menu. As a minority woman, as a daughter of immigrants, I have too often seen how people get overlooked, and I know that rural Georgia does get overlooked. That is why I want to make sure that we have, leaders from rural communities that will be part of my kitchen cabinet advising me on legislation of what their needs are. I think that's incredibly important, instead of rolling out legislation that doesn't, consider them. I think it's important that, as I mentioned before, expanding Medicaid. People in rural communities are having their hospitals closed down. It's incredibly important that we expand Medicaid, that we give them the healthcare resources that they need, which will also continue to bring jobs. I think it's also important to make sure that we fully fund our public schools, that we also have a permanent opportunity weight. We're one of, I believe it's 4 states that does not have a permanent opportunity weight, where low-income schools, rural schools get extra dollars in funding so that their students can thrive. We're doing a pilot now that's about $15 million. We're doing a pilot right now.
Please mute. Thank you. Sorry about that. You got about 10 seconds.
Okay. I was just going to say that focusing on healthcare needs, making sure that they're part of the conversation in my kitchen cabinet, and then also making sure that that we have a permanent opportunity weight so that every public school, no matter what zip code you grow up in, has a good education.
Nabilah, thank you for that. It looks like you're a little frozen. Before I tell you to move forward with your 1-minute closing statement, I want to confirm that you can hear me and you can hear everyone else. You seem a little, on the screen, it's a little frozen.
I am frozen. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
It is not a flattering photo of me, please.
No one here is judging. We want to make sure your voice is heard. Go ahead with your 1-minute closing statement.
All right. Well, thank you so much, ladies. Look, we're in a critical moment for Georgia and our nation. This year, Democrats have to win. We see what Trump and MAGA Republicans want to do. They're taking away our rights, including the right to vote, the right to control for women to control their own bodies, and they want all of us not to be terrorized. Well, they want to take away the right of all of us not to be terrorized on the streets in our own homes by Donald Trump's masked agents. That's why I got into this campaign for lieutenant governor. I was twice elected to the toughest seat held by any Democrat in the state Senate. My story is Georgia's story, and that's why I know I can connect with voters. I'm the proud daughter of immigrants. I went to Gwinnett County Public Schools. I became the first person in my family to graduate from college. My life experiences have informed my work, and that's why I fight harder than anyone to protect our rights and to make life more affordable, and to help working class families like mine achieve the American dream. I'm Nabilah Parks, and if you want to fight for regular Georgians as the next lieutenant governor, I am your candidate, and I'm humbly asking for your vote. I've been endorsed by Congressman Hank Johnson, District Attorney Fani Willis, Mayor Shirley Franklin, and also Commissioner Ted Terry. We've built a broad coalition of supporters in a short amount of time, and I'm very proud of the results that we've gotten so far. And I know that we're putting together a winning campaign that is going to have the voices of all Georgians so that we're at the table together.
Time. Thank you.
Nabilah, thank you so much for joining us for the conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for taking the time to come join us. We're going to move on to the next race, which is Commissioner of Insurance. And we have the interviewer, Miss Beverly Hood. Beverly?
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to meet and hear everyone's discussion about the candidates. We have 2 candidates, Keisha Sean Waits and DeAndre Mathis. I would like to know which of you would like to go first. As already stated, there will be a 2-minute opening remark. I thought it was interesting that they gave me this assignment. I have a degree from the University of Georgia in insurance, so this is going to be interesting. So, which of the candidates would like to go first? Okay. Well, I'll make a decision. Keisha Waits, are you on? Keisha Waits.
I thought I just saw her.
I thought I did too. Well, go ahead and start with DeAndre since Keisha is
Hi,
not in here.
DeAndre. DeAndre, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
As already stated, you have 2 minutes for your opening remarks.
Okay, my name is DeAndre Mathis, and I am a Grady baby, as they say. I was born and raised on the west side of Atlanta in a quiet little community called Bowen Homes. Went to A.D. Williams and Douglas High, and from there I went in the U.S. Navy. I was in Desert Storm back in 1991, received the Combat Action Medal. From there I came home and went to Georgia State, have a bachelor's degree in accounting, a master's in taxation. After that, I was a tax accountant for a number of years with Ernst & Young and Southern Company. And then I got an entrepreneurial itch and got involved in real estate and actually opened up a bar back then. And after doing that for 4 or 5 years, I decided to transition back into insurance and financial services. And so for the last 21 years, I've been a licensed agent and a registered rep with contracted with a major brand in the country. I'm not going to call their name, but you can Google me and find out all of my affiliations. But that is what has led me to run for this office. Over the last 10, 12 years, I have become increasingly frustrated at sitting on my side of the desk and looking into the face or having a conversation over the phone, primarily with hardworking single Black females who have never had an accident or ticket in their lives, just having economic hardship because of the times that we live in and the things that happen in life. And they get unreasonable insurance rates while other folk who have tickets but live in the right zip code and have the right credit score get a better rate. And I think it's unsatisfactory, and I'm running to make a change.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's go into the questions. What is your plan since insurance rate increases are among us now? What is your plan to reduce rising insurance premiums in Georgia?
Well, again, the first thing that we're going to attack is one, putting teeth back into the insurance commissioner's office. A lot of folk don't know it, but about 10, 12 years ago, and I'm going on this time period because it's not a coincidence. About 10, 12 years ago, the Republican-led legislature changed the statute that governs and defines the insurance commissioner's authority. The insurance commissioner, before that time, the statute read that the insurance commissioner shall approve all rate increases. They changed that word approve to review. And so actually by statute now, the insurance commissioner does not have the ability to even push back directly. Having said that, I'm going to push that we change credit, making it illegal for insurance companies to use credit and zip code. I believe I've already had an impact and influence in that conversation. But outside of that, there are other things that I'm going to use to leverage the power of the office from an investigative standpoint to hold insurance executives accountable who receive millions of dollars of bonuses every year and raise rates as if they're losing money.
We have questions from the chat, and I will ask you this question. First of all, what my combined insurance payments exceed my home mortgage. What can be done to lower insurance premiums in Georgia?
Okay, so again, it depends on where you live and your credit that's impacting that. And we've got to make that illegal for them to use. Your insurance rate should be strictly based on your loss history and your safety rating, period. When they are able to use credit, I started this campaign February 1. I filed my intent to run on January 21st, and my website was up, and I've been crisscrossing the state since February 1. But we've got to make them accountable for using credit and zip codes and make that illegal. We've also got to set in place investigative measures to find out what's going on with the insurance executives and their bonuses and so forth.
Okay, and I think you probably answered another question that's in the chat, which addresses the driving, what's driving the increases, and you mentioned the zip code and credit as factors, and how you would address them. So unless there are other specifics regarding this, I think he has answered those questions. I have another question. When you, let's say that you are the candidate that the Georgians select as Commissioner of Insurance, what would you do in the first year that you are elected and Georgians can readily see that this is occurring, that you've accomplished?
Well, another factor that's contributing, and I'm trying to talk in sound bites here, but another factor that's contributing to the escalating rise in premium is the fact that the insurance commissioner's office is severely understaffed. If you look at data, for every premium dollar that insurance companies collect in Georgia, the insurance commissioner's office in Georgia is staffed 40th. I'll say that again. Per premium dollar that's collected by insurance companies in Georgia, Georgia's office is staffed 40, meaning that 39 offices across the country who have greater staffing and they collect lower premiums. So I'm saying that to say, in essence, no one is guarding the hen house. And so insurance companies get to tell a narrative that is, to be quite frank, untrue. They get to talk about claims and losses, and that narrative is used to do tort reform that is completely unnecessary, and in my opinion, it is a way for them to legally discriminate against some folk who they don't want to make whole. Again, I've said this across the state since February, but until you see Morgan & Morgan shuttering their offices, then know that somebody in Georgia is still being made whole based on their connections and associations. But poor folk and working class folk are going to be the ones who get turned around because of the tort reform so-called law.
Okay. Time for the that part. Go ahead with the 1 minute closing statement at this time, Mr. Mathis.
Thanks again for having me. Again, my name is DeAndre Mathis. I've been an insurance agent for 21 plus years. I mentioned my Navy experience because I received my fire safety training in the Navy. And a lot of folk forget that the insurance commissioner is also the chief fire safety officer in this state. Gubernatorial candidates have been going around expressing the fact that rural hospitals are closing, but rural fire stations, which are just as important as first responders, are closing, and those that are open are staffed by volunteers. And so my mission, one, is to push back on the insurance executives and get Georgia's premiums down, but then also to make rural communities safer by taking some of the surplus that the governor in Georgia said we have and investing back into rural communities and their first responders.
Thank you so much. And we appreciate your input this evening. And you enjoy the rest. I hope you enjoy the rest of the forum.
Yes,
we have...
I don't know if Miss Keisha's on. Miss Waits, are you on somewhere hiding with a different name on your screen? Okay.
I thought I saw her on, Tommy.
No, I don't see her on either. So if she comes on, we'll invite her to speak. But I guess we'll move on to our next portion, which is the Commissioner of Labor, and Michelle Walker. Take it away.
Hello, everyone. As Tommy mentioned, my name is Michelle Walker. I'm the first Vice President of Fayette Democratic Women. And we have Nikki Porcher and Mickey Sánchez that I'll be speaking to this evening. And I would like for us to start with Nikki Porcher. And I would ask that you introduce yourself with a 2-minute opening. Then we will get your feedback on a few questions that we have. And you'll have 5 minutes for that and 1 minute for your closing remarks. How are y'all doing tonight?
I'm doing well, and thank you all so much, Fayette Dems, Fayette Democrat Women as well. Thank you so much. I am no stranger to this community, so thank you for having me. I was kind of bummed about the fish fry. I was looking forward to it because I do eat fish, but we'll have more opportunities, I'm sure of it. My name is Nikki Porcher, and I'm running to become Georgia's next state labor commissioner. I am a veteran, a former school teacher, a business owner, and a person who just cares to make sure that work works for everyone in this state. The last 10 years, I led an organization called Buy From a Black Woman. Been able to generate $6.12 million into 700 businesses, worked with government partners like the IRS, the FTC, Small Business Administration, but also work with corporate partners like PayPal, Goldman Sachs, H&M, and MasterCard. I joke and I say, and you can see the medals behind me, I ran the New York City Marathon, and MasterCard sponsored me. But so this just lets you know that I bring partners and communities together. I decided to run for Georgia Labor Commissioner after having a story myself, having one with my son, but most importantly, learning that the work that I have done the last 10 years is what a labor commissioner should be doing, could be doing, and will be doing once I am in the office. Making sure that childcare is a workforce issue, ensuring that transportation for our jobs are spread across all 159 counties, not just Metro Atlanta. Making sure people have access to resources that help them to better paying jobs. We want to build a Georgia where it is better for Georgians to live, work, and play. So I look forward to answering your questions. If you have any information you want to look up, you could go for votefornikki.com is the website. And remember to vote for Nikki because I'm pretty sure you want to vote for me again to win in November. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Porcher. And I know that there were a lot of people that was disappointed about the fish fry tonight, but I will tell you that the way it's raining outside my window right now, I think we made the right choice, and we will reschedule the fish fry, and we'll make sure that you're invited.
I appreciate that. I don't eat a lot of meat, but I do eat fish. And unfortunately, I eat fried fish. So, I'm looking forward to that.
I think everybody eats fried fish, most of us anyway. Well, our first question is, how can Georgia prepare workers for AI and emerging technologies?
Yes, so we all know AI is here to stay. And I know if you've been looking at campaign flyers, unfortunately, a lot of candidates have been using AI as their flyers by saying AI is taking jobs. So, Uchiwali or One Mic, we're going to make sure people understand that when you are using AI, it's to help enhance the work you are already doing. We don't want AI to replace our workers. We want AI to enhance the work that is already happening. So that means making sure that we're getting the education and the training for the jobs that are already being employed by the working people of Georgia. That's been making sure that AI is being used in a rightful, lawful way and not abusing it. And if you understand how valuable AI can really be when we're using it properly, when we're using it ethically, it can actually help enhance Georgia to be a better Georgia for all working people.
Thank you. My second question is, what accomplishments would you define as a successful first term? What is it that you would like to do?
Yeah, so a first term is 4 years, right? And we want to make sure that we're being realistic when we're talking about what success looks like. First, we have to make sure that we're understanding that for the last 20 plus years, the Department of Labor has not been ran by people who are putting people first. It has been ran by people who are putting businesses first. We also need to understand that the Department of Labor is still in the 1980s, where we're trying to figure out why every candidate before me has promised to modernize the Labor Department, but it has not happened yet. Our current commissioner, who has been appointed by Kemp, even said herself that it's 1980s and she's going to have it fixed by September. But if you look at the Department of Labor website today, you will see that there is the announcement listing that starting June 8th, that they are going to remove the telephone option to dial into your benefits. So I'm not sure if that's modernizing the system or making sure that we're removing access for Georgians. So once I am in office, the first thing I'm going to do my first 90 days, that first quarter, is one, doing a strong evaluation about exactly what is really going on with the Department of Labor. I don't want to sit here and make false promises and say I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that when I am on the outside looking in, when we have not had strong representation. But going into that, I'm going to bring it to community partners. Through my work with Biafran Black Women, the last 10 years, I've worked with community partners. I work with the marginalized groups that is supposed to be serving the Department of Labor here in Georgia. I've worked with these people, so bringing them in to ensure that we are working for the people of Georgia. By year 2, we're going to see some improvements. We're going to have technology that actually works. We're going to have mobile work centers throughout the state. We have 34 work centers right now, but we have 159 counties. And I'll just know I've been to 56 counties since the start of this campaign. And that's a lot of counties, and that's a lot of voices, and a lot of people who are not being heard, seen, and supported. So when people see Nikki Porcher is the Commissioner of Labor, they know the Department of Labor is working for them. The Department of Labor is listening to them, and they will feel comfortable reporting wage theft. They'll feel comfortable reporting false labor practice. They'll be comfortable knowing that when I file my unemployment claim, I'm going to get it fast and timely because the Commissioner of Labor, Commissioner Porcher, cares about me.
Thank you for that well thought out answer. I think we have a question in the chat. And let's see, it's how would you expand access to job training for adults seeking a career change?
Yeah, so this one will come easy to me, only because for the last 10 years, I led an organization for businesses led by women. And a lot of those women decided to start a business because of a career change. They were either not being fulfilled in their current position, or they needed to do something for extra income. So this is not something that I'm a stranger to. It's something that I have done naturally, something that I have even done myself as a person who was trying to figure out what my next step would be. Even with coming into the Department of Labor, learning that I picked this office because I had skills that apply to this office, not something that just is something, a nice idea, or I just want to run for it. The skills I already have transfer over here, the same way that we want to make sure that Senator Offsauce FAST Act bill is going to be transferring our military skills into the civilian world, making sure that we understand that nobody does not have skills that go to another job. So when a person is saying, hey, I was doing this, I might have been let go, maybe I'm bored, maybe I'm not getting enough income, what can I do? So we first evaluate the skills that they already have, the work they have done. There's a lot of people who don't know that they have skills, but because they just do it so naturally or as a hobby, they don't see like that as an income generator. So we'll go ahead and do an evaluation of what a person is already do, then see how that applies into the workforce. Are you about to say time? Is that what you was looking for?
I'm about to say
time. I was about to ask Tommy if we had time for one more question from the chat, but I'll save that for Miss Nikki Sánchez. Okay, you have 1 minute for your closing.
So I just want to say again, thank you so much to the Fayette Democratic Women for having me as a person who is a member of Congressional District 13, Dem Women. That was very important to understand that to be a proud Democrat, to be a person to represent Democrats, you must be relatable to Democrats, but also you must be practicing Democratic principles because you're going out there to represent. So I just want to say thank you so much for putting this forum together. Again, my name is Nikki Porcher. I had led the runoff. Now keep in mind, this is my first time running, and 310 Georgians said Nikki Porcher should be the next labor commissioner. So we're going to go right back into it and hear that sentence and that phrase again. When you go to the ballot starting June 6th, remember to vote Nikki Porcher for Commissioner of Labor. My website is votefornikki.com. And we all know that runoffs take money. So if you feel inclined, please donate. The website's there as well, votefornikki.com. On Monday on GPB, we will have a live debate streaming. So if you're free, please hit that button so you can see me again going live. But please know you won't miss it because I'll have it in your inbox. Votefornikki.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Porcher. Thank you very much for your answers. And thank you for coming on our forum this evening. I'm gonna move now to Miss Mickey Sánchez, and we're going to go ahead and ask Miss Sánchez to take her 2 minutes for her opening remarks.
Hi, yes. My name is Michi Sánchez.
Michi, thank you very much.
Yes. And I'm running for Georgia Labor Commissioner because I've lived what too many Georgians have faced every day, and that is wage theft and misclassification. These are two very serious issues that affect Georgia across socioeconomic status, across ethnicities, across different communities. There's hundreds of millions of dollars stolen from workers every year. And this is the office that has the power to enforce the laws against those things, but they don't do that. And we can see that they don't do that because there's not one investigator. After over a decade of organizing communities around civic engagement and participation and helping get progressive candidates elected, I took a step back after I lost my daughter, and 6 months later, I was laid off, and I struggled to find work. And when I did, it was one more political organizing contract, but when it was over, I decided to step away from politics altogether, and I took a job with an attorney who misclassified me, overworked me, underpaid me, sexually harassed me. And when I stood up to him, he fired me and stole my last check. And because of that misclassification, I did not qualify for unemployment benefits. And because of that experience, I learned that Georgia does not have a state law against sexual harassment, and the few laws that they do have to protect workers are not enforced. I'm running because it came as a calling to me, and I believe that through my lived experience, I believe everything happens for a reason, and I want to make this office the powerful tool for justice that it was created to be. My name is Michi Sánchez, and I'm running because I want to make sure that working people across Georgia have somebody fighting for them in this office.
Thank you.
Ms. Michi Sánchez, thank you so much for stepping up to run for this seat. And I am sorry to hear about the loss of your daughter.
Thank you.
I have a question in the chat that says, let's see, where is it? While we know that two things can exist at the same time, AI being a helpful tool and large companies reducing staff to invest more in AI agents, what will you do to ensure that job loss does not outpace job creation?
So I think that monitoring, making sure that we're tracking the industries that are most likely to be susceptible to being taken over by AI, and transparency are really important. We need to be monitoring large-scale layoffs and workforce reductions in real time. Georgia has a WARN Act that requires advance notice of mass layoffs. It needs to be enforced, and that data needs to be made public. Proactive retraining before displacement happens, making sure that we're investing in the technical schools, like Lanier Tech has cybersecurity programs, and jobs that, and making sure that we're investing in them in a way and making it accessible to everybody, because not everybody can, go to a four-year college. You need to make it accessible day, night, online, and making sure that we're ahead of the curve and making sure that these retraining models are accreditations that can be stackable, and so people can easily pivot when AI takes over their jobs.
Michelle, you're still muted.
You say
Sorry
Michelle,
about
I keep thinking it's me.
Okay, the next question is, how would you support veterans entering the civilian careers?
So I think investments into like the trainings, the apprenticeships all of that, and making sure that we have pipelines dedicated to veterans, especially people who are, struggling, making sure that we have support systems for them, and making sure that, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, can you say the question one more time?
The question is, let me see now. I'm looking at so many questions. Let's see. How would you help workers? How would you support veterans entering civilian careers?
Yeah, I think that, making sure that the skills that they've gotten from their time in the service, we're able to, have access to career centers that can easily show them which are the jobs that, they can translate those skills into, and if they need help with more trainings, that's why we need to invest into those apprenticeships and went into the technical schools and make them free when possible. It really should be free. But that's something that I would definitely advocate for. I mean, I have been this time that I've been doing advocacy work over the last decade. I believe that, especially our technical schools and community colleges need to be tuition free. And that's something that the state can definitely invest in. So you're on mute.
My question is, one second. What accomplishments would define a successful first term for you?
What I want to accomplish within my first year is I want to hire a team of investigators to proactively go after the industries we know are exploiting workers the most. I live up in Gainesville, Georgia, where it's known as the poultry capital of the world. And during the pandemic, we saw how they were being treated. They were being told they were essential, but treated like they were disposable. And they were asked to take on more and more hours, but weren't even given PPE. People were getting sick, they were dying all around them, and nobody was doing anything about it. And so I helped co-found Georgia Familias Unidas, a nonprofit that was created to fill the gap for them. And by making sure that, I also learned during that experience, because at the end of the Senate runoffs, 2 weeks later, there was a nitrogen gas leak at the poultry plant down the street from where I live, and 6 people died. And we did rapid response. We were on the ground with the people that survived. And in that experience, I learned that we don't have a state level OSHA plan. This office is over safety of workers, but we don't have a OSHA plan, so it defaults to the federal government, and they're already stretched thin. So I want to work with, the agency that I think it's the health agency, to create occupational safety and health plan for the state, so that it would then be something that the labor department could, oversee and make sure that the companies are complying with safety standards and not have to wait until tragedy strikes.
Time.
Thank you. That's really new information. I had no idea that Georgia did not have an OSHA. That's really interesting. Something new. Okay, so can I ask you to go ahead and give your closing remarks? You have 1 minute.
Yes. So I'm running for this seat because too many people in Georgia are being exploited, and this office isn't doing anything about it. This is the only office that has the ability to go after those employers and recommend them for criminal action if necessary. Aside from that, there's a real opportunity in November to get back the people. We saw what happened in 2024 when, 50% of Latinos ended up voting for Donald Trump, and a lot of them are already regretting that decision. And I think it's a real opportunity to have somebody that can speak their language and speak to their issues, and pull them back to our side. And hopefully, because in the 10 plus years that I've been doing this advocacy work, especially in Latino communities, of the ones that are eligible to vote, less than 10% of them vote. And I fear that, after the dissolution of this administration, they may not vote at all. But the message that I've been sharing across the state has resonated. I've had so many people even just ask me, how can they register to vote? People who never were planning to vote before. And so I think this is a message that we really need. We're going to need in November so that, we can flip the state and start making some real positive changes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your answers, and thank you for participating tonight in our forum.
Thank you so much for having
or meeting
and doing this. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much for your participation. We're going to move on to our next race, which is the Georgia State House District 68. And Cynthia Liberty, would you take it away with your questions?
Yes, I will. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us this evening. I'd like to welcome Timoria Saba. Saba, thank you so much. Candidate in the race for State House District 68. Welcome, Timoria.
Hi, Miss Cynthia. Hello, FDW. Thank you all for hosting tonight and for charging on through the storm. Appreciate you. Ready for my intro?
Yes, I'm ready for your opening remarks.
All right.
Please introduce yourself and talk to us about your campaign.
Awesome. Good evening, everyone. My name is Timoria McQueen Saba. I'm a wife, mother of 2 daughters, rising 11th grader, rising 7th grader, who both attend Fayette County Public Schools. We are now down to a runoff, and as we know, the stakes could not be any higher. Voting rights, healthcare, environment, education, food insecurity, affordability, everything is on the line. As a healthcare advocate and policy strategist of more than a decade, I want to help District 68 and all of Georgia move forward with representation that's dignified, respectful, and most importantly, accessible and inclusive of your voices. I am the best choice to be your state rep because I have already written and successfully had statewide legislation signed into law. This job is to take your concerns and community needs and implement policy solutions that will address them. I spent this entire session at the State House lobbying for several bills. I know what it's like to have to fight for your voice to be heard. A lot of you know my story, but for those of you who haven't heard it briefly, I will tell you. My oldest daughter, who's now 16, when she was born, I almost died after a 27-hour-long labor due to a postpartum hemorrhage. I was diagnosed with PTSD, and that was the experience that propelled me into my advocacy work because I wanted to help others who had suffered life-altering circumstances, no matter what the circumstances were. I'm a fighter. These are difficult times. The House and Senate are contentious. I have many, many times successfully negotiated and had successful outcomes of very complex issues, including race, gender, discrimination, environment, and education. I kindly ask for your vote to help me build a stronger, healthier Georgia with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing about yourself and your experience. Now let's talk about District 68.
Sure.
What are the top 3 issues facing District 68, and how would you address them?
Sure. So first, I'd like to start with education. You only give me 5 minutes. I could take 5 minutes on this one, but we'll see how things go. So as a parent in the schools, one of the things that I didn't think people realized is the inequity of resources and realizing that we have 3 high schools in District 68. So we've got Banneker, Sandy Creek, and McIntosh. So as we may or may not know, some of you might not know this, McIntosh is currently, in the process of building a $26 million football stadium. Sandy Creek's been begging for a scoreboard for the longest time. But one of the issues also is that Sandy Creek has had programs taken away. The removal of the IB program, that's the International Baccalaureate program, was taken away. The last class that will get to experience that program will be the class of 2027. The program was not given enough time to even fully matriculate because it was started during COVID. The leftover funds for that program were then turned into a general fund. So we don't know where that money's going, but we don't know, it certainly wasn't given back into the Sandy Creek system. So those are things I'll be looking at, as well as mental health. And I'm talking about both for teachers, students, and parents. I'm actually currently working with one of the elementary schools in District 68. It's actually in South Fulton, on a mental health program for the parents, actually. So I'd like to be able to not only complete my work as an advocate doing it, but I'd be able to make it more widespread throughout District 68 as your representative. Next is food insecurity. When I moved here a few years ago, before I even got here, I started researching a lot of different issues. And I was surprised myself to learn that there was a 60% increase in food insecurity in Fayette County. And when I tell people that, they're super shocked. When I actually give the number, they're even more shocked. 7,000 people in our district suffer from food insecurity every day. 1 in 8 adults, 1 in 5 children. I immediately got to work because I was working with a food pantry at the time. I immediately decided to write a bill, or proposal rather, during the federal appropriation cycle of 2024. I asked for $300,000, which is small potatoes in the bigger scheme of billions. The funding was denied. That was the first light bulb for me that I was eventually going to seek a higher office, because as an advocate, you can only push so much on the outside. You have to have people fighting on the inside to get these things done, to build coalitions who are also interested in those things, to get those things done, not just in District 68, but of course, all across Georgia. I would also we definitely have to confront the fact too about affordability. We got packed, strawberries cost $10 a pack now, guys. We've seen, I was paying $30 to fill my gas tank a month or so ago. Now I'm paying 60. So how do we actually deal with people who can't afford these things? We don't even have an emergency assistance program in place in our district. So a basic emergency of like $400, $500 can set a family back on their rent or mortgage. I've actually been involved in other types of programs and policies creation where we've created food supplement assistance, rent assistance, and sometimes even mortgage assistance, so that there's a little bit of a triage for families when they experience an emergency. They don't have to worry about how they're going to get food on the table while also trying to decide, can I pay my rent this month or take care of my gas and electric bill? Did I get it all
Thank
in?
you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Got about a minute left.
Okay,
Oh,
yes, those are very important issues: education, mental health, and food insecurity. Thank you so much. Just one more quick question.
Sure.
How do you plan to engage constituents outside of election season?
Well, I already engaged with them. I'm a member of 2 PTOs. I'm on a few different committees, but I think it's about actually going into you have to go into each neighborhood, but you also have to meet with each type of population, because each municipality has a completely different type of population and completely different needs, and also genders, right? So I won't just focus on children and women's groups. Men often are ignored in a lot of these conversations. So it's going to be super important to make sure, that I travel to where the people are in my district. And I have done that. I personally knocked 6,000 doors myself. I've been from the tippy top all the way down, to my district, and I've enjoyed it. And people have enjoyed my energy and getting to know me. And the one thing that they consistently tell me is, I know that you are true to helping people. You are intentional and you are genuine, and I will certainly give you my vote. And that's how I ended up in the runoff.
Thank you so much.
Time.
Please offer your closing remarks.
Sure. Well, thanks again, FDW. Thank you all for watching tonight, for your questions and for your time. I'd like to thank my family, everyone who donated and prayed and supported me on the journey to get to this runoff. You've all seen what I've done as an advocate, and you know that I would be phenomenal at representing you in that state house. I want to give you what you deserve. You deserve the best. And I have always fought for people to have the best quality of life that you could possibly have. You deserve a rep in a Georgia that you can be proud of. You deserve affordable food, housing, healthcare, a clean, safe environment, equality in all of the things. I've always said this as well. I want you to view us as your investments because it's your taxpayer dollars that is going to pay these salaries. So who is going to give you the best return on your money, your investment? I'm a proven winner. I've done all the things, written and passed state level legislation, built coalitions, advocated for policy at local, state, and federal levels. And I want you to win too. Georgia's families deserve better. I want to ensure that you and all of your families have everything you need to be healthy and thrive. And I will be fighting every day for exactly that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you all. Good to see you again.
Thank you, Timoria.
You too.
Do we have anyone else that's in a runoff? Any other candidates that have joined since we started this? No? Okay. Well, hearing or seeing none, we're going to move on to our Fayette County Commissioner race, District 3, Chandra Wright. And we have Ms. Donald Para. If you would please take the mic.
I certainly will. I too would like to thank Fayette Democratic Women for inviting me. My name is Donald Parr, and I'm the executive director of a nonprofit organization that seeks to improve the health and well-being of the Fayette County community. I've been a resident in Fayette County since 1989, and I've lived both in Peachtree City and in unincorporated Fayette County. And with that being said, Ms. Chandra, we'll have our conversation. And the first question, by now you have 2 minutes to introduce yourself. Yes. 5 minutes, we'll talk about some questions, and then you have 1 minute to give your closing remarks.
Okay.
So go ahead, Ms. Chandra.
Good evening, everyone. It's always a delight to bring up the rear. I thank the women of Fayette Democratic Women for giving us this opportunity this evening. I want to just tell you a little bit about myself. I have been in Georgia since about 2016. I was born and raised in Louisiana, did about 28 years in the Midwest, and came here to be closer to family. I am married. I have a husband and 4 children. We have a beautiful family, and it has been a delight to serve in Fayette County. I have been a past PTO president at J.C. Booth Junior High. I sat on the PTO board at McIntosh. I also have been a booster parent. So I've really jumped into the community, a band booster mom. And it's just been a really wonderful experience. I'm passionate. The reason that I am running for Fayette County Commissioner is because I'm really passionate about moving District 3, which is the district that I would be representing, and the county forward in a smart way, serving in a way that is people-centered and coalition-focused, and maintaining safe communities. As with respect to moving forward smartly, it is so important that we think through these decisions that we're making, because we have to reduce the amount of unintended consequences, such as some of the things that are going on with data centers. For the last 5+ years, I have been working to encourage people to leverage the power that they truly have, educating the public on issues that affect their everyday lives, and building relationships with other organizations, municipalities, to fight for important issues and to maintain the rights that we have. I am the only candidate in this race who has actually worked in local government. I worked in the Planning and Development Department of Peachtree City for years. I committed to educating myself through the obtainment of my second master's degree in public policy. I achieved that in December of last year, and I will be the only candidate who will commit myself fully and full-time to obtaining to connecting with people and to serving the public of Fayette County and District 3. I am asking for your opportunity to win your confidence, to talk to me. Let's talk about the issues that are going on. Let's come up with solutions that we all feel comfortable with. Give me an opportunity to win your vote. And with that, let's start the conversation.
All right. With the time going, we'll go ahead and start the conversation. The first question is, what are your biggest challenges? What do you see as the biggest challenges facing Fayette County today?
The biggest challenges facing Fayette County, in my opinion, is preparation for dealing with the issues that are most important to us right now and preparing going forward. We have gotten ourselves into a situation where we are experiencing some unintended consequences as it relates to this data center issue. The issue is massive. And I don't think it was done in a malicious way. I really think that this is something that is occurring all over this state and all over this nation. So we're here facing a situation where we have to make sure that our resources are managed properly, that we safeguard the environment, that we don't get into this continuous situation where our public utilities and our bills are increasing. We don't continue facing the situation where we are having to worry about how is this going to impact our finances in the near future. The issues are just massive. We also have to make sure that as the economics change with the introduction of AI, our world is changing right before our very eyes. The job market is changing. The data centers are here, so we can deal with that. We can make sure that we slow that down. But how are we going to deal with the fallout that happens when AI does displace workers? How is that going to impact our residents? How is it going to impact the revenue that we currently have coming in? So many people who work outside of Fayette County are still going to be affected by this. And how are we going to make sure that our finances stay stable and that our people are able to bounce back from the impact of how this may impact us? We have to be very forward thinking. We have to be in coalitions with other organizations. We have to understand the problem and watch it evolve. And we have to be able to react very quickly to make sure that our residents remain whole and stable and get through this.
Thank you very much. Just getting that time going. The data centers, of course, affects green space, and people always talk about the quality of life. So how would you help to protect green space?
Well, really and truly, the data centers are massive in size currently, right? So we see that when you get one of these massive facilities right now, you're going to lose green space. I think Fayetteville did the right thing when they placed a moratorium on them. I think that it will be important that other municipalities and the county put a moratorium on it, because the technology is going to evolve, and we have to, even though we know that the demand is increasing at a rapid rate, that's not our issue. Our issue is making sure that while, the shareholders, the people who have invested in these data centers, they want to go fast because they want to get paid. That's not the issue of the people in the local municipalities. We have to make sure that we manage this in such a way that we know we can't stop AI, but we can stop the damage that it's doing to our green spaces. Additionally, we have got to make sure that we work with the state and the EPA to make sure that our water supplies are protected, that our airspace is protected. It's important that the county commissioners are in lockstep with the Public Safety Commission, with the EPA, with state committees that are looking at this, that we are working with them to make sure that that our counties and cities are not negatively impacted by these centers.
Okay.
We got about 40 seconds, Dawn.
40 seconds? What can you do and can be done to revitalize vacant commercial properties?
Vacant commercial properties. You know, I am a big proponent of the fact, you know, I believe very passionately that small businesses are the backbone of communities. So we have there's two areas that I think we can use some of these vacant properties. One is we can make sure that we provide opportunities for small businesses, incentives for them to be able to utilize some of this space. But also we have to be innovative in terms of how can we leverage it in other ways to move our economy forward, and quite possibly to provide some of this workforce housing that we are that is going to become more and more of an issue. You know, there are all types of ways that we can look at vacant property and come. Oh, and one more thing, we have to also make sure that as we are talking to citizens about the resources, the amenities, the things that they are looking for, public health, recreation, parks, all of, you know, things that the services that we provide to the citizens, we also have to make sure that we are innovative in using that space to provide some of those services for the people of Fayette County and for these municipalities. So reuse is the key. How do we reuse this space in a way that meets the needs of the cities and the counties to meet the resources and services that they're going to be looking to fold out over the next 5 to 10 years?
Thank you so much for your answers. 5 minutes goes by really quickly.
It does go by really, really fast.
Okay, so you now have 1 minute to tell voters why they should vote for you.
So I am so excited and honored to be able to run for this position. I have talked to many, many people over the last several years about the things that matter to them, about what they consider as a good quality of life, what matters, what feeds into their quality of life, what are the things that they care about. They have talked about the fact that they live in Fayette County because of the low crime. They have talked about the reason that they live in Fayette County is because they feel safe. They have talked about the fact that they want to make sure that our traffic conditions are alleviated and that our infrastructure is well maintained. People care about the services that are being offered in this county. They care about the fact that they want things like a public health facility, green spaces, parks, recreation. And although some of the cities offer that, there are still services, for example, a public aquatics, a county aquatic center that could be of service to all of the municipalities. People want to make sure that their cost of living is addressed. So I understand the value of connection to communities. I understand the power of people. I understand the value of coalitions, and I understand the value of diversity on these boards. And I am the person to make sure that we are looking into all of these needs and getting it addressed by the Board of Commissioners. So I thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Wonderful. And you would be the only female when elected on the commission. We haven't had a female for quite some time. I don't think since 2014.
And I have been, you know, watching them and over the years, and they are in need of it.
They need some diversity. They need some diversity.
Of a different voice, because women do bring a different perspective to the table. They are always thinking about families, and they are always thinking about making sure that they think of things holistically and from a community base. And I am excited to bring that perspective to the table.
Thank you so much, Chandra. Appreciate it. And thank you, Ms. Dawn. Appreciate you guys too. We also have Ms. Sonya Wimberly Hawkins from this state, running for state Senate District 16 on. Sonya, are you still there?
Yes,
Oh,
I am here. Good
hey,
evening, Fayette Democratic women.
good evening. Miss Ann Herzog is going to be the one that's going to be asking you a couple of questions, but you can go ahead and get started with your opening remarks. 2 minutes.
Okay. Well, I'm Sonya Wimberly Hawkins. I am a community advocate, entrepreneur who also works as a contractor in revenue cycle management. I am a wife of 30 years, a mother of two, a 27-year-old and an 18-year-old who just graduated from Fayette County High School Friday. I'm a 26-year resident of Fayetteville, and I'm a regular, everyday citizen who decided to run once. I'm sorry, my phone is going off. Who decided to run because I got mad enough to run. For me, policy is personal, and the decisions made under the Gold Dome affect everyday families. I believe every family in District 16 deserves access to quality health care, strong public schools, good paying jobs, and a government that protects their right to vote. The choice in this election, for me, it isn't about political parties. It's about priorities. I believe the government should work for families. I believe we should invest in education, protect healthcare, support small businesses, and make voting accessible and not more difficult. I think democracy works best when every single voter can participate. I believe schools are struggling with teacher retention and students with workforce preparation. We need to increase teacher pay and retention incentives. I, for one, believe that we should focus on within our district recruiting diverse candidates. You know, Fayette County does very well in terms of performance. I've had two children go through Fayette County school system. Like I said, I've lived here for 26 years. But I think that we may have some blind spots when it comes to students. And also we have an issue with equality across the district because Spalding County is not equal to Fayette County. I also believe that we should expand dual enrollment in technical programs for our students because the reality is a lot of kids won't have the opportunity to go to college. So we need to get them some career training. You know, I believe every student deserves a pathway to success.
Thank you. Time.
Okay.
Ann?
Well, hello, candidate Hawkins. I'm Ann Herzog, and I'm happy that you're here.
Yes.
You are not in a runoff. You had 72% of the vote. So
Yes.
you are the clear Democratic candidate for this position.
Yes, ma'am.
And I would like to know what will you do at the very beginning of your term that will help us in our district?
Oh my goodness. The first thing I want to do is I want to communicate with the constituency regularly. I want to pass legislation that will advance or expand voter education and access. When I was canvassing and talking to young people and some older people, it's a lot of miseducation or they don't understand. So I think that it all begins with voter education and then getting more people registered to vote. I want to increase access to prenatal care and expand maternal health and resources and awareness programs. I want to secure funding for teacher recruitment and retention. That is a big thing, you know, throughout District 16. We really need, like Fayette County in that regard seems to be doing well. However, that is not the case for Pike, Spalding, and Lamar counties due to teachers' salaries. You can't retain people if they don't have a livable salary. I want to bring grants and infrastructure investments, workforce opportunities to the district, and I want to support small business growth and entrepreneurship. Those are some of the main things I would like to do.
Yeah, that's a big agenda.
Yeah, it's a big agenda, but, and I know I may not be able to get everything done. My thing is, I want to hold at least 4 town halls annually. I really want to be out with the constituents. I want to be able to respond to requests within 48 hours. That may seem unrealistic, but that is my goal. I want to pass or co-sponsor meaningful bills and help the community.
Yeah. You will be representing quite a varied district. You have the Fayette County, and then all of those rural counties that you mentioned.
Yes.
And everybody is concerned about data centers.
Yes.
In all of those counties. Have you any plans for what to do about them?
Oh, goodness. Okay, so let me say this. I live in Fayetteville. I can literally walk to QTS. I might be breathing hard and sweaty, but it's like a mile down the road from my subdivision. And depending on what article you read, it said one article I read said it was 28 million gallons of water that I don't want to say stole, but they got without paying for. And then Politico reported that it was 30 million gallons. And people were having water pressure issues, discoloration of water, and it was really bad. And that's something that directly impacted me, which is why I always say policy is personal. I believe that growth should happen with the community and not to the community. So I think we should require greater transparency before we approve large developments throughout District 16. Even though we have a moratorium here in Fayetteville, that is not necessarily the case in Spalding County. I believe they have 4 that are coming, and they're fighting to stop it now. So I think we should also conduct impact studies before major projects. And this is something that, we should have done on the front end, but it's too late now because the data center is here. But these are things that we can do on the back end.
We have
when you go to the state Senate, you can be on committees, I understand. What committees would you be ideal for?
Environmental, education, and small business.
Your opponent has been in office for years, if not decades.
Yes, a decade.
How decades. He is very cultural in his bills. How will you differ from him? How will you help us?
Okay, so one of the things, I say one of my gifts, the ongoing joke, like I said, I work in revenue cycle management. And if you know anything about finance or accounting, you know that the revenue team always clashes with the sales team. And I worked for this tech company, and they were going back and forth, and, they couldn't get stuff done. And I kind of went in and smoothed over the relationship. And part of the reason I was able to do that was because I was able to see the humanity in both parties. I know that sales makes commission, and they need to make a certain amount of money so that they can live. And the same thing with the revenue side. So I was able to cultivate those relationships, bring both parties together, and work out a deal. And my nickname became the mayor.
Okay.
I plan to do that when I get to the state Senate. I am not big on culture. My goal is to help the people because I am the people. My life experience has taught me that we are more alike than we're different. We all want similar things. We want a happy, healthy life. We want to be able to afford to live. We want our kids to be great, and we want to live in safe communities.
Time. Go ahead and finish it up.
No, I was just saying, we want to live in safe communities. I am that person who can keep her eye on the prize and get what I want and that I think is best for the community without all of the filler. Like, I don't care what you look like. I don't care what your religion is or your sexual orientation. I believe that all tax-paying citizens are entitled to the same rights.
Okay. So now for your 1-minute closing.
For my 1-minute closing, My my priorities are simple. I want to protect voting rights. I want to strengthen public education. I want to improve maternal health care. I want to support small businesses. And I want to ensure responsible growth that protects our communities. This campaign has never been about me. It's been about the people of District 16. Like I said, I believe policy is personal, and the laws passed in Atlanta determine whether our schools thrive, our families can afford health care, and whether small businesses can grow. I want to make sure every citizen's voice is heard. And that's why I'm running. Like I said, I got mad enough to run. I looked around. I saw that we gave this man in the White House another term and his minions. And just seeing everything that they've destroyed, the progress that we've made over the years, it was enough to make me mad enough to say, okay, I'll do it. I'll throw my hat into the ring. So if you want a fighter, I am she.
All right, perfect. Right on the minute.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss Sonya Wimberly Hawkins. Appreciate
Thank
you
you.
coming to speak to us. We have a couple of, we have a drop-in, Miss Lydia Powell, who's running for Georgia State School Superintendent of Schools. Miss Lydia, can you give us like a real quick introduction to you, like 3 minutes?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
All
Or
right. Can you hear me?
yes, we can.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. And thank you so much for doing this event tonight, especially with so many of our wonderful Dems in a runoff. It gave me a lot of information, I know. I just wanted to say thank you for all of those who voted, who came out to vote, whether you voted for me or not. Thank you for just mobilizing and get out to vote. When I look at those numbers, Democrats versus Republicans who voted in the primary, it made me really, really proud. So I just wanted to share that I am still in this race, excited to be in this race still. I am still ready and willing to fight for Georgia's kids. My priorities are the same. My priorities are number one, working with rural Georgia to ensure that our students in rural Georgia have access, because I believe that your zip code should not determine what you have access to. Number two, examining and making sure we don't have an over-reliance of standardized testing. We want to make sure our teachers are able to teach the standards and not teach to a test. Teach kids how to be critical thinkers, not to a test. And I want to make sure we're able to start expanding preschool education. Why? Because only 38% of our students can read at grade level. When we look at rural Georgia, it's even lower. 30% of our students read at grade level. And we can't continue to think that teachers are miracle workers and can continue to remediate with a minimum amount of resources. We have to expand pre-K to ensure that our students are getting a head start. So they're starting ahead and not behind. And my first goals are to look at them, to number one, review that data, to look at the CCRPI, look at Georgia Health Survey data, look at our grant allocations, because when I speak to superintendents in rural Georgia, one of the main things they talk about is not having the funding that they need to be able to reach all of their students. Even just grant funding. Sometimes if their paperwork is not 100% correct, they are not able to get the much needed grants. We're going to even look at auditing the staff that they have already, auditing them to ensure that they are doing the work that Georgia needs, and ensuring that we have more literacy coaches. The House and Senate, they passed these bills to expand literacy, but I met someone today that did a training. There is only one literacy coach at the state level, and that his job is to train other literacy coaches. We need to make sure that we also expand that. I am ready to fight, whether it's Bubba or Richard. So I just want you to join with me if you're interested in learning more, www.drlydiapowell.com. If you want to help with the campaign, you can reach out to me through that website, through the email. We would greatly appreciate your support and your donations. Keep in mind, Richard and Bubba have already raised $250,000. So no
Okay.
matter who I'm going up against, they have that machine of money where they're getting from private industries and companies that are not here to fight for Georgia's kids. So if you would like to just reach out, feel free to do so. Again, www.drlydiapowell.com.
Thank you so much, Lydia. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to join us.
All right. Thank you guys for doing this. This was great.
Thank you, Dr. Powell.
And next we have Senator Kenya Wicks, who has some important remarks for us.
Good evening, everyone. It's been great information. Let me tell you something. Running as a candidate is not easy. So I applaud everybody that has had the courage to step up and run. Just a few little things. As everybody is aware, that on the 17th of June, we are facing redistricting. The maps, of course, you already know in 23, they've already been redrawn once. They're trying to do it again. Of course, y'all know in South Carolina and Alabama, that it's been halted or it's been stopped, but Governor Kemp is pushing forward. I just got another text message but not only that, the maps, they're doing the QR codes too in reference to the voting. So those two things are on the agenda for the special session. With that being said, the call to action is that we need to let everybody know from the mountaintop all the way down to the desert that all imperative that everybody come out, let your voices be heard. Even if you have to call the governor's office, I will make sure that everybody has the phone numbers. Call the governor's office, email my office, email the governors, email all the House representatives to let them know that we do not support, that the constituents do not support the redrawing of the maps. What the redrawing of the maps in a nutshell is that they're trying to go from 23 Democratic senators down to 17, which means that they will either push myself and Senator Davenport, because there's three Democratic senators in Clayton County. They would push myself and Senator Davenport together, or myself or Senator Davenport and Elena Parent together. So they're trying to make Democratic senators run against each other to get us down to 17. And even at the congressional level, we have 9 to 5. So those 5 congressional senators, they're trying to get them down to either 11 to 2 or 12 to 1. So they're trying to silence the black and brown vote, bottom line up front. And that's the message that we're trying to resonate with the voters. So we want to make sure that our voice is still being heard. Now, keep in mind, there's during Juneteenth, and there's also during the FIFA. So we're trying to make sure that we resonate and making sure that everybody knows that we need to not let our voice be silenced. And then also, we're going to have a town hall. The flyer is going around. Not only that, but just to make sure that we have a post session to let you know all the bills that was passed and that was vetoed. One, that the money that was in the budget, that was allocated in the budgets, I think that Senator McLaurin would talked about, is that we had allocated money for the mental health facility that was gutted. The money that was allocated for our foster care kids that was gutted. The money that somebody was talking about, the pathway, the money that was allocated for that was gutted. So this is all bipartisan issues that affect the lowest level of our constituents. All that money has been gutted this session right here. And that bill right there is House Bill 973. If anybody wants to go look at the budget, House Bill 973 is the budget. So if you want to go by and look for yourself of what everything that was gutted from homeless veterans, they gutted money for the homeless veterans too. House Bill 973. And then also get ready for the special session. So I just want to just put it out there, thank you for your continuous support, and I will continue to support you all. But we need to be unified on one accord, one voice. And as always, Ms. Dawn, I support the mental health always, Fed Factor, that I was always be a continued support with the Fed Factor. I dropped some mental health bills this past session. I was nominated as the Veteran Legislator of the Year. So I'm always going to be there for our veterans and our seniors. So that's very imperative that I will continue to use my voice and my platform for those initiatives that I always for Fayette and for Clayton County. Got a bill passed for our sheriff for increase for Clayton County and for the Solicitor General. So just want to continue to keep up the fight and continue to go there.
And thank you for all of the hard work that you do, Ms. Senator Wicks. We really appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Nora?
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to remind everyone that we have runoff elections coming up. Early voting for the runoff starts June 8th through June 12th, and then runoff election day is Tuesday, June 16th. So please ensure that you vote and you tell everyone in your network to vote. And if somebody needs a ride, let's all find a way to get every person who wants to vote to the polls. I wanted to just say that it's been a pleasure to have everyone, all the candidates on tonight. We so appreciate you and the work you're putting into this, the work to fight for our democracy. I also wanted to thank all the interviewers for the hard work they put into this and all the attendants that stuck around a lot later than we promised. And to our team, the Executive Board of Fayette Democratic Women, who put so much heart into this and who we promise will continue to do this until November and until we Democrats win, not just here in Georgia, but in the United States, and we reclaim our democracy. So thank you all so very much. I'm deeply appreciative, and I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Good night.